Nigerian Ports Authority remits 490 billion naira into federal government's account in 11 years. NNPC Limited to commence oil spill containment in Bodo community. President Buhari approves appointment of executive management of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, the NSIA. Asia Pacific shares traded higher on Tuesday after stocks on Wall Street rallied overnight. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Leakatun Babatunde, your guide. A very beautiful morning to you out there. We start the program by informing you that the Nigerian Ports Authority (NPA) says it remitted 490.229 billion naira into the Consolidated Revenue Fund (CRF) of the federal government between 2011 and 2022. Managing Director of NPA, Mohammed Bello Koko, said that in 2022 alone, the NPA remitted 92.967 billion naira, while noting that the 2022 remittance included 28.3 billion naira remitted as closing balance of audited account reconciled from 2019 to 2022 financial years. He added that in the first half of 2022, the country recorded 1,992 ships calling at the seaports of Apapa, Tinkan Island, Rivers, One, Calabar and Delta ports, with a total gross registered tonnage of more than 60 million within the period under review. Bello Koko said that in 2021 period under review, 4,100 ships called at Apapa, Tinkan Island, Rivers, One, Calabar and Delta ports, a figure which showed 2,108 reduction in the number of ships that called through the nation. The appointment of a new Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer and two new Executive Directors of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority (NSIA) has been approved by President Muhammadu Buhari. The approval was contained in a statement by Yunus Atanko Abdullahi, Special Advisor Media and Communications to the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning this Monday. The appointment of the new MD follows the expiration of the tenure of the erstwhile MD Uchioji, whose tenure expired on the 30th of September 2022 after serving two 5-year terms following his appointment on the 2nd of October 2012. Those appointed comprise Aminu Umar Sadiq, who is currently an Executive Director and Head of Infrastructure as a new MD and CEO, Kolawole Owodunmi, Executive Director, and BC Makoju, Executive Director, all of the NSIA. Section 16, subsection 3 of the NSIA Establishment Act 2011 specifies that the Executive Nomination Committee (NC) be constituted to begin the process of recruitment and selection process for the replacement of OG, the MD, and the Executive Directors. They are all expected to help steer and transform the investment and infrastructure industry and propel the sector to a high pedestal. And so how much is the Naira exchanging for the currencies? Let's find out. Now we move straight to our focus for this episode of the program. Wealth creation in some schools of thought is described as an activity that is brought about by owning several streams of passive or active revenue sources. So essentially, wealth creation results from either increasing your income, adding an extra source, making high-yield investments, or even through savings. However, regardless of how you get there, one thing is certain, which is the fact that you will have to create value for others. Most individuals that built wealth created innovative values that they converted to money. Now, how do we build wealth in tough times like we're in right now? And of course, I have someone who is skilled in that business, and he will be giving us that assessment. Olaole Kehinde is the person I'm talking about this morning. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you, Leanne.
And nice to have you again on the program. Yes. So perhaps we'll begin the conversation by you telling us essentially when we say wealth, money on the other hand, what does it mean?
Oh, okay, thank you once again. I think before we start to talk about the differences, let's talk about the similarities. The first thing is wealth and money. There is still value. There are also a means of exchange. Wealth in itself is an all-encompassing exercise, while money is just a subset of wealth. So you've given your definition, which is fantastic, and you allow me to do my own. It's an extended network of riches, connections, and interactions. And when I say that, you're talking about social capital, you're talking about financial capital, you're talking about human capital, you're talking about national capital, and you're talking about natural capital. And I can break them down. Of course, social capital is your network, because you've asked me to come here today, you've had some kind of buffer to increase probably your projects, your programs, and so that's a capital, and that's a form of wealth. Now, financial capital, of course, we've spoken about that, investments, money, savings, and all of that. You talk about human capital, that's the capabilities, the competencies, the skills, the talents that is embedded in the human being. Then you talk about natural capital, which is the resources that the nation has, because nobody operates in a silo. And when you talk about the national capital, is that thing that stands the nation from the other. You talk about the territorial integrity of the nation. So wealth is an assemblage of that, and it's not only tilted into investments and passive and active income.
So how vital is it for people to be able to differentiate and know these sources that you've just spoken about?
Great. As a human being, human being is made of mind, body, and soul, in the way you want to say it. Then, of course, a nation and human being too are also categorized along that line. Of course, let's take it to the point of someone that works in an organization like this. The reason why you're working there is you're competent. You've got the capabilities, and you've got the skills to work in that way, and you get something as a means of exchange. That's money at the end of the day. But because you work here and your competence is known, you could also get referral businesses to work somewhere else too. That's social capital, because of the fact that you have a network of competent people. They are referring you to another source of income. So that's the social capital. Then, of course, when you talk about the natural capital, in the government sector, like in the ministry, you have despite the fact that you could do your 9 to 5, the government gives you opportunities to do business too, and that's in agriculture. So, and that is also a source of income that you could tap into. And of course, the government also understands that they keep you here from 9 to 5, which takes you a whole lot of time. So they give you interventions, housing, mortgage, and all of that. So you don't get to worry about that. So that's the national and natural capital that should be. So all in all, it's knowledge and experience that opens people that awareness of the combination of root and what they can do.
Okay, so when we talk of knowledge and experience, we have found ourselves in the global space where things are not really how a lot of humans want them to be. First, we have rising inflation, it's a global phenomenon. We have rising cost of energy, it's a global phenomenon. We have rising interest rates, it's also a global phenomenon. All these are sort of affecting the psyche of people. So if you're going to be given an advice on how to navigate the terrains, where should we gravitate towards in terms of keeping ourselves intact and earning income?
Okay, thank you once again. One, in this tough time, there are two things that you need to be grounded. You have to be multi-skilled, and you have to be multi-talented, like I mentioned earlier on. As of today, inflation rate stands at 19.6%. You have unemployment at 33.
Above 20.
You have unemployment at 33.3. You have underemployment at 22.3. You have youth employment at 42.8. The monetary policy rate is at 15% today, and you in all of this you find out that the cost, what you earn before, can actually not purchase what you have actually been done. So that means that the purchasing power has reduced. So in this, that means you cannot afford to stay on a stream of income. And when you look at that income stream, what are we talking about? We're talking about you need to have your investment opportunities. You have to learn how to save long and short term. You have to also be able to develop new skills and competencies that will be viable and all of that. And that takes me to the gig economy. I'm sure you'll have heard about the gig economy. The gig economy, most of the time it suits to the youth in Africa, but all over the world it's a big issue. What is a gig economy? Is like you're not employed as a full staff for or out. You are employed based on some bite-sized work that you can offer. So you see people doing a little bit of content writing online, doing influencer marketing. I'm sure you resonate with that. You see people doing data analysis, and you see people saying they're working from home and all of that. So of course it does open them to insurance, health care, and all of that, and they get to work more, but the bottom line is that they're putting food on the table and they're making things happen. Like in Nigeria now, the gig economy has expanded so much that even the Generation Z, that means the new people, that they don't want to sit down and work under a boss, but they are not entrepreneurs. They just want to spend and relax and get to spend another time and all of that. But so they have their time for themselves, and they can actually do a whole lot of things. And of course that is making up for those who want to do, probably they call it moonlighting. That means I want to work after work. Somebody says, what will I do between after 9 to 5? I said, by the time I'm through 9 to 5, I'm wiped out. But you could take a 2-hour break and do 7 to 12. So the 7 to 12, that means you need to be multi-skilled, you need to be multi-talented, and you need to increase your social network. You see where I'm going to? So when you increase your social network, the possibilities and the opportunities of getting an extra income could arise.
So how viable or how critical is one's social network?
Your social network determines who you eventually become. Because today, apart from the two major employers in Nigeria as we speak, we have a government and you know that the government employment is saturated. In fact, we've been talking about downsizing the civil service because of the bloated costs and all of that. and you have the private businesses that delve majorly on referrals. Yes, because there's a legislation that there must be publications for advertisements and all of that. But high network jobs are always mostly based on referral. So in as much as you can expand your social capital, you would be possibly opportune into taking some bit of a pie of that space.
I'm asking this question actually because I get to meet some people who say, hey, I really don't want to be in the social media. I don't want to have crowd, but I'm not having the buy-in of people. And I told someone it was because you didn't have a presence online with other people. And the person tells me, but then we have some Louis Sugar, we have Gary that don't need any advertisement, but they're still selling.
Okay. As of today, 1/3 of the world population is on social media. That's a huge number. And what that means is that there's an interaction that is happening. And guess what? It cuts across all spheres of people, all class of people. As we speak today, about 65% of the entire world has a mobile device, and most of them are coming from the developing nations. I'm sure if you cut yourself out of social media, you might be doing yourself a whole lot of harm. Yes, you could say you can manage the number of time or the amount of time you spend on social media. You could try and analyze the kind of media platforms you want to operate in and the forums you want to join, then make the best of it. You see, almost every institution, almost every kind of businesses on social media, and they share knowledge. That's the importance of the social media space. They share knowledge, they share jobs, opportunities, and they share experience too. So if you're having challenges, even in your finances, if you have challenges getting work, if you're trying to up to personal issues, you could get someone that actually experienced that before and they share to you. Of course, you don't take everything for as it is, because in as much as there's a whole lot of information on the internet, but of course you need to save the one that suits you, especially when it comes to investment. I'm sure you heard a lot about Ponzi schemes. You see saving schemes that promise magical returns.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you the role of perhaps financial advisor, and how people will be able to acquire the requisite knowledge and knowing where to invest and where not to invest.
Fantastic. One is the issue of investments. Of course, would ideally sell to an investment advisor, but like I mentioned earlier on, your knowledge and experience in terms of observation and what had actually hit you before could actually direct or inform you of your investment decisions. Of course, if there are so many investment houses, the traditional commercial banks, traditional asset management companies, the normal investment companies and investors, and there are as many as this sand of the seashore, so you still have to really consult more and get more. So the point is that while there are traditional or certified investors, not all investment opportunities actually turn out well. So it still boils down to you being lucky in some point and being knowledgeable, and of course consulting with other investments houses and outlets before you make your final decision.
So there will always be a lesson to be learned.
Obviously. Is
everyone wired to be an entrepreneur?
Not everybody is wired to be an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur is a risk taker. Not everybody has that aptitude for risk taking, and not everyone could take initiatives, because it takes a whole lot of initiative to become an entrepreneur. There's things that stand out as an entrepreneur. Humility. If you are not humble, you cannot be an entrepreneur if you're not service oriented. You cannot be an entrepreneur if you're not solution oriented. You cannot be an entrepreneur. And if you cannot stay at some point without nothing in your pocket, you cannot be an entrepreneur. I'm sure that's not an interesting thing to hear, right?
Of course, that's an interesting thing to hear. But we'll be ending this conversation now, I'm told, and I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Kolawole, for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for coming. So next is our Surviving COVID-19 series as put together by Aisha Musa.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
There are no customer do coronavirus. Before the corona, I can get a 30 customer or 50 customer, etc., etc. And then during the coronavirus, there are no customer. After coronavirus, we can take a long time without the customer. Even the transport, the many drivers is come and buy fabric. There are no transport to go into somewhere because of the lockdown. Even the another our customer will coming for like Niger or Ghana and other country like it, they are coming here when they come to Nigeria and buy something. So they are locked down that period. There are nobody coming into Nigeria. When the customers come after coronavirus, they say the material where they were selling for 20,000 and before coronavirus say is 23,000. In that period, there are no money for the customers. That is the problem. How can I call it? The survival form. Where the possible and they help the businessman. Okay, I apply, but I never get it. If I get it, I can buy the many fabric. Somebody, sometimes the customers come and ask why this kind of material like this one. Because I don't have money, how can I go off to buy? Maybe I get, but if I get that money, I can buy a many fabric where the customers like. To me, or many Nigerian economists, because of in my family, 5,000 in a day, but why go to 2,500 or 2,000? That is a teaching me economist. When I get 10,000 now, I don't want to go to just to buy something. I will keep it 8,000 and spend 2,000 because of I don't want to forget that situation in COVID-19.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
All right, now let's take a trip to the commodities market. Of course, Nigeria's financial markets resumed this morning after the Independence Day public holiday. But then let's catch up with global market activities as presented by Pastor Abel.
Pacific shares traded higher on Tuesday after stocks on Wall Street rallied overnight. The Nikkei 225 in Japan rose 2.96% to close at 26,992.21, marking the biggest daily gains since March 23, while Milan Shanghai Composite and the Hang Seng Index are on the negative territory. European stocks advanced on Tuesday, building on gains seen in yesterday's trading session. DAX, FTSE and CAC 40 are on the positive lane. Stock futures in the United States rose following a broad rally on the first trading day of October, a sharp turn from September, which brought the worst month since March 2020 for the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500. Futures tied to the S&P 500 increased more than 1%. Nasdaq 100 futures up 1.22%. Futures for the Dow Jones Industrial Average were up 247 points. For African stocks, South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index opened positive, while other stocks are yet to post new figures. Boss Shedi Ebo, Business Express.
And this is where we draw the curtains on this episode of the program. Don't forget you can access all previous episodes on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us via our various social media platforms. Business Express returns Wednesday at 3 p.m. My name is Leah Katimba today, saying have a blessed day, be safe out there, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you.